you stand on the ground, and everything feels still. The soil is firm beneath you, the stones steady, the mountains silent. It's easy to believe that the earth has stopped moving, that it rests asleep. But beneath the surface, far below where your eyes or tools can reach, something ancient is stirring. You are walking on the thin, cool skin of a living planet. The crust beneath you, the continents and ocean floors, is just the surface of a being that never truly sleeps. Beneath it, heat moves like breath. Molten rock flows, slow and deliberate, shifting in patterns older than mountains or oceans. The earth is not still. It is only calm. You close your eyes and imagine sinking downward through soil and stone, through layers of ancient sediment pressed over millennia. Each layer is a memory, a page in the planet's long story. Fossils whisper of oceans long vanished. Crystals remember the pressures that shaped them. And deeper still, past the familiar bedrock, the stone begins to soften. The temperature rises, like the warmth of a slow heartbeat beneath skin. This is the mantle, the quiet interior of the earth. Here, the rock is not solid, not liquid, but something in between, a slow, flowing strength. It moves inch by inch, year by year, carrying continents across the globe in a patient dance. The same forces that built mountains and tore them apart move now beneath your feet. Every moment you walk, you are carried on their steady rhythm, the pulse of a sleeping giant. You can almost feel it if you listen deeply enough. Not as sound, but as a kind of knowing. The warmth rising from deep below is ancient fire, born from the planet's creation over 4.5 billion years ago. When Earth first formed, collisions and chaos shaped its molten heart. That heat, trapped, transformed, and renewed by radioactive decay, still lingers. It radiates outward, a soft and endless exhale. You might think of it as the Earth's breath, invisible but constant. Volcanoes, geysers, and hot springs are its exhalations, small reminders that life moves within stone. Even where the surface feels quiet, that breath continues, shaping the crust from within. You imagine it now, molten rock, thick and glowing, moving through the mantle like honey under pressure. It is both power and patience, fire that waits. The crust above it floats and shifts, cracking and mending, always finding balance again. Each plate, each fault, is a line in the Earth's great poem of movement. The continents themselves are travelers. They drift slowly, carried by currents of molten rock below. Mountains rise where they collide, valleys open where they part. The Himalayas, the Andes, the Rift Valleys, all born from the same deep restlessness. And yet, to you, standing above it all, the surface feels peaceful, unmoving, eternal. The illusion of stillness is comforting. You can sit beneath a tree, hear the wind in the leaves, and feel the solidity of the ground as something trustworthy. It anchors you. But knowing what lies beneath that calm adds another kind of comfort, a deeper one, because it means that even when everything seems unmoving, change is happening quietly. Creation is never asleep. Somewhere beneath Yellowstone, a vast chamber of molten rock rests like a great lung. It expands and contracts with time, inhaling minerals and exhaling gases, shifting the ground by millimeters each year. Most days, it is tranquil, but its quiet energy has shaped valleys, forests, and rivers. A slow sculptor, hidden from view, you realize that the Earth's interior is not hostile or angry, as stories sometimes tell, but alive. Its heat is the memory of formation, the persistence of energy that never fully fades. Without that warmth, there would be no movement of plates, no mountains, no new crust forming at the Midawashan ridges. The same force that can destroy also sustains. You picture the planet not as a ball of rock, but as a body, layers like muscles, heat like blood. The core beats with liquid iron, generating the magnetic field that shelters life. The mantle flows like breath, shaping continents and seeding volcanoes. The crust cools and cracks, growing and healing like skin. The Earth is not a stage for life. It is life in a slower, grander rhythm. If you were to press your ear to the ground in perfect silence, perhaps you could hear it, not as sound, but as vibration. The deep hum of seismic waves, the whisper of magma shifting miles below, the low resonance of a living world. Every tremor, every subtle quake, is part of the same ancient song. It's a lullaby written in rock. The Earth's heartbeat is not measured in seconds or minutes, but in millennia. Its breath moves in cycles of continents and climates. Its dreams unfold through the rise and fall of mountains. It is patient beyond comprehension, and in that patience lies a kind of wisdom. The sleeping giant beneath you does not hurry. It knows that transformation takes time, that pressure must build before release, that silence must deepen before eruption. It teaches you the same lesson in stillness. When you feel restless, when change seems to slow, you might remember that the Earth itself waits, quietly gathering strength. Beneath calm surfaces dot the rocks. Beneath your feet are storytellers. They remember the heat that shaped them, the collisions that formed them, the weight of ages pressing down. Each grain of sand was once part of something immense, a mountain, a magma flow, a fragment of Earth's inner life brought to the surface to rest and cool. You are walking across the evidence of endless patience. Above you, stars move in their own slow patterns, and below you, molten rock flows in rhythm. Between these vast motions, you exist, a single heartbeat in the timeline of the planet, and yet you are part of its story. Your breath, your warmth, your heartbeat, all borrowed from the same cosmic fire that fuels the Earth's core. The thought brings peace. You are not standing on the Earth, you are standing with it in communion. Its silence is your silence, its strength your foundation. When you lie down at night, you are resting on the body of a planet, still dreaming itself into being, and deep beneath you, the sleeping giant stirs not to awaken, but to turn slightly in its timeless rest. You feel the faint hum of its warmth rise through layers of rock and time, and you wonder what shape its next dream might take. A mountain, perhaps, or fire. You lie on the ground again, listening to silence. The stars above are endless, cold, and patient, light years away, each burning with ancient fire. And yet, as vast and brilliant as they are, there is another kind of fire closer to you, not in the heavens, but in the soil beneath your body. A warmth that rises slowly, invisibly, like the breath of something enormous and calm. The Earth keeps itself warm. Even after billions of years, after storms and ice and oceans, after the formation of mountains and the cooling of continents, the planet's heart has not gone cold. It glows faintly still, like embers under ash. You might not see it, but its heat is everywhere, in the crust, in the mantle, in the very air warmed by geothermal breath. You are part of a world that breathes fire without flame. This warmth is not a surface phenomenon. It comes from deep time. To understand it, you must go inward, down through layers of rock, past silence, into the secret workshop of atoms. The story of the Earth's heat begins with violence. 4.5 billion years ago, when the young solar system was still a storm of dust and stone, countless fragments collided. Each impact added energy, each blow compressed matter, heating it until it glowed. The newborn Earth was a molten sphere, shimmering like a small sun, liquid rock flowing in oceans of fire. When the bombardment ended, the surface cooled and hardened, but the heat remained trapped inside, unable to escape into the void. It was the planet's first breath, and it has been exhaling ever since. That heat did not fade entirely, because the Earth found a way to feed it. Within the rocks themselves, tiny atoms of uranium, thorium, and potassium began their slow transformations. Over time, these atoms decay, releasing energy in a quiet, invisible way, like grains of sand falling in a cosmic hourglass. The warmth they produce is called radiogenic heat, and it's one of the reasons the planet is still alive beneath the crust. Each atom's decay releases just a whisper of energy, but multiplied by the countless trillions that fill the Earth, those whispers become a chorus, a steady, endless hum. Imagine the mantle as a sea of slow fire, a thick current of semi-molten rock moving like breath. The heat from radioactive decay rises through this sea, stirring it. Hot material lifts upward, cools near the crust, and then sinks again, a cycle known as mantle convection. This is how the planet breathes: warm rock rising, cool rock sinking, an eternal inhale and exhale. You can almost feel that movement now if you listen not with your ears, but with your imagination. It's like hearing the ocean beneath the ground, not crashing waves, but deep, slow tides of stone. Each current takes millions of years to complete its path, but it never stops. It is patience made visible, the physics of stillness in motion. This warmth shapes everything. It pushes continents apart and drags them together again. It fuels volcanoes, creates islands, and renews the crust. Without it, the Earth would be geologically silent. No mountains, no plate tectonics, no new land. It would be a dead, frozen sphere, like the moon. But because of this inner breath, the planet stays awake, and it does so with grace. The heat is not chaotic. It's balanced. As warmth rises, it escapes through cracks, vents, and volcanic eruptions, slow leaks that keep the pressure steady. At the same time, radioactive decay replenishes it. This delicate equilibrium has kept Earth's temperature stable enough for life to thrive for billions of years. You live within that balance. Every green forest, every drop of rain, every living cell owes its existence to the Earth's internal fire. You might picture this process as a great lantern burning beneath the crust, its light diffused through miles of stone. The average temperature of the mantle can reach up to 1,000 to 30 degrees Celsius. The core is even hotter, over 50 degrees Celsius, hotter than the surface of the sun. And yet, despite this blazing center, you walk safely above it, separated only by a crust a few dozen kilometers thick. It is astonishing how thin that barrier is, how close you are to the furnace that shaped your world. In that furnace, iron flows like water. As it moves, it creates electrical currents that generate Earth's magnetic field, the invisible shield that protects all life from solar winds and cosmic radiation. So, the warmth inside doesn't only shape mountains, it guards the atmosphere, keeps oceans intact, and allows the gentle blue life of Earth to exist. Every compass needle that turns north is responding to that unseen dance of molten iron. It is the planet's heartbeat, electromagnetic, eternal, unseen. The warmth also connects you to every other layer of the cosmos. The same nuclear reactions that heat the Earth's core are cousins of the reactions that light the stars. In the heart of the sun, hydrogen atoms fuse to form helium, releasing immense energy. Inside the Earth, heavy elements decay, releasing smaller but steady streams of warmth. Both are expressions of the same universal law that matter holds fire within it, waiting to be released. You are, in a sense, standing between two furnaces, one burning in the sky, the other smoldering below, and both sustain you. The sun feeds life with light, and the earth feeds it with warmth. Together, they form a perfect equilibrium, the outer fire and the inner fire. Without one, the world would freeze. Without the other, it would never have begun. This thought brings you peace, because even when the night feels cold and endless, you know warmth exists in every direction, above, below, within. You are held between fires, protected by the balance of creation itself. But warmth is not eternal. The Earth's energy is slowly fading, as radioactive decay diminishes with time. Billions of years from now, when the atoms are quiet and the core grows cold, the planet will fall into geological sleep. Volcanoes will die, mountains will cease to rise, the crust will stiffen and crack. The Earth will become silent, a still relic of its once living fire. Yet even that future holds beauty, for it means the planet has lived fully, a complete breath from beginning to end. For now, though, the breath continues. Each geothermal spring, each volcanic plume, each tectonic shift is a reminder that we are living on a warm, breathing being. When you soak your hand in the heat of a natural spring, you are touching the planet's pulse, the same pulse that shaped continents, birthed oceans, and guarded the thin film of life that now flourishes above. Close your eyes. Imagine drifting downward again, through crust, through mantle, toward the molten heart. The deeper you go, the warmer it becomes. The air disappears, the stone glows, and everything vibrates with energy. There is no sound here, only rhythm, the movement of atoms, the slow churn of molten iron, the heartbeat of the core. You realize that this warmth is not separate from you. It is the same energy that flows in your blood, that fuels every heartbeat, every spark of thought. The atoms in your body once burned in the cores of ancient stars, cooled into dust, and rejoined this molten planet. Your warmth, too, is borrowed from that same eternal fire. You are, in every sense, made of heat. You are starlight turned inward, stone given breath, fire made gentle. When you breathe, the warmth you release is the echo of that same planetary pulse. You are not just living on Earth, you are participating in its warmth, sharing in its fire. And so, the story of the planet's heat becomes a meditation on your own. You too are a balance of energy, creation and loss, warmth and rest, transformation and stillness. Just like the earth, you sustain your inner fire quietly, beautifully, without needing to burn to bright dot. The stars shimmer above, and you can almost feel the planet exhaling below. A soft warmth rises from the ground, and for a moment, the boundaries blur. You are the earth, breathing. You are the warmth, remembering. You are the quiet fire that keeps the world alive. The planet turns gently beneath you, its molten heart glowing unseen, and in that warmth, you drift toward sleep, wondering what else lies hidden in the silence below. Asterisk. You rest your hands on the ground, palms open to the planet's pulse. The warmth that moved through Chapter 2, the slow breath of the earth, still hums below you. Now, that heat begins to move, not as a sigh or a whisper, but as a quiet motion spreading across vast distances. You can't feel it in your lifetime. You can't hear it, but beneath every mountain, every ocean, every desert plain, the world is shifting endlessly, gracefully, without pause. The continents you see on maps firm, colored shapes with sharp borders, are not still pictures. They are waves caught mid-motion, frozen in a moment of geological time. Underneath, the mantle moves like a great, slow sea of rock. Hot material rises from below, cools, and sinks again, carrying the crust above it like rafts drifting on molten tides. This is plate tectonics, the deep choreography of the living earth. It is not chaos, it is rhythm. It is the slowest waltz ever danced continents, moving inches per year. Yet, over millions of years, crossing entire oceans, you imagine looking down from above. From space, not for a day or a century, but for 1 billion years. You would see the continents drifting like clouds of stone. At first, they cluster together, a single, vast landmass called Pangaea. Then, over time, cracks appear. They stretch apart, like the slow opening of a dream. Pieces drift away, Africa sliding from South America, India racing toward Asia, Australia spinning into solitude. Each inch of movement carries the memory of deep heat. The same fire that breathes beneath the crust pushes the continents forward, guiding their paths through invisible currents of molten rock. You realize the very ground beneath you is a traveler. The soil you stand on has crossed oceans, collided with other lands, risen into mountains, and eroded into dust again. The earth remembers movement the way a body remembers breath. Now, close your eyes and travel backward, far, far back, beyond memory. The air thickens. The oceans glow red from the warmth of a young world. There are no continents yet, only volcanic islands forming and sinking, rising again from the restless sea. These islands grow and merge over millions of years, building the first continents, fragile, floating continents of granite and ancient stone. Their roots, called cratons, are the oldest parts of Earth's crust. They are like the bones of the planet, steady and enduring, holding the memory of the first land beneath your feet. You see them drifting now, pulled by the slow hands of mantle convection. They collide, not violently, but with the patience of time. When two plates meet, one dives beneath the other, sinking into the mantle. There, it melts, releasing water and minerals that fuel volcanoes above. The land trembles, folds, and rises. Mountains are born, the Himalayas, the Andes, the Alps, all sculpted by this deep, invisible motion. Every peak is a frozen wave in the ocean of stone. Every valley is the memory of a collision. Every island is the echo of magma cooling, carried upward by the Earth's endless circulation. As you drift through this vision, you realize that continents are not rigid pieces, but flexible, living rafts. They bend and breathe under pressure. Even the mightiest mountain will one day fall, eroded by wind and rain, washed to the sea, melted and reborn. The land beneath you has been ocean before, and will be again. The ground itself becomes a metaphor for impermanence. The illusion of stillness is only that, an illusion. Even the stone dreams of motion. You imagine the continents as dancers in a cosmic hall, their steps guided by heat. They move apart, then return, again and again, forming and breaking supercontinents through cycles called the Wilson cycle. Each cycle lasts hundreds of millions of years. First, a supercontinent forms. Then it splits, sending its pieces drifting across the world. Eventually, those pieces reunite, drawn back by the mantle's currents. The Earth breathes continents in and out, like lungs of stone. You see the ancient supercontinents pass before your mind's eye. Rodinia, 1 billion years ago, quiet and bare, waiting for the first stirrings of life. Then Panotia, forming and dissolving again. Then Pangaea, where dinosaurs walked under vast forests. And even now, the Earth is preparing its next, a future supercontinent that geologists call Pangaea Ultima, or sometimes Amasya. It will form in 200 million years, long after you and every memory of your age have turned to dust. But the movement will continue, steady as a heartbeat. The ocean floors are the stage of this dance. At mid-ocean ridges, molten rock rises and solidifies, creating new crust. At subduction zones, old crust sinks and melts. The process is constant, creation and destruction in perfect balance. In every moment, the planet renews itself. Just as you exhale what you no longer need and inhale what sustains you, the Earth recycles its skin, turning itself over through time. You begin to see the parallel between your breath and the planets. Both follow the same rhythm, expansion and contraction, creation and release. It feels almost personal, as if the Earth's movement mirrors the flow of your own existence. Nothing in nature is still. Stillness is only a pause between two motions. Think of this. The mountain you see today was once part of an ocean floor. The stone beneath your home could have formed near a volcanic ridge millions of years ago. The sand on the shore may have traveled from the heart of a desert that no longer exists. Every grain carries a story, not of a single place, but of constant migration. The Earth is a nomad, and you too are part of that migration, not of stone, but of atoms. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe, all of it once traveled through stars, through oceans, through rock. You are made of ancient wanderers. Your body is an assembly of travelers who found momentary rest in your form before they will journey again someday. In the great drift of continents, you sense something humbling. The mountains rise and fall, oceans appear and vanish, yet life endures, adapting, moving, finding balance. You realize that Earth's changes are not chaos, but a slow unfolding of design. Each shift, each crack, each ripple in the crust has led to new environments, new possibilities, new forms of life. Without drifting continents, there would be no diversity of climate, no renewal of minerals, no endless variety of life. Even the instability of the earth is a gift. Now you see time differently, not as a straight line, but as a spiral, the planet repeating its patterns at higher scales. The dance of continents becomes a meditation on transformation. What seems like destruction is only a step in a greater creation. The land breaks, so it may become fertile again. The plates collide, so mountains can rise and rain can fall. Even the cracks in the crust are signs of movement toward balance. You think of Pangaea again, that ancient, unified land. How quiet it must have been, how vast. Then you imagine it breaking apart, drifting into the continents you know today. Each separation gave birth to new oceans, new winds, new currents. Separation, you realize, is not an ending. It is how creation continues. As the night deepens, you feel that motion in your own being. Your thoughts drift like continents, separating and reconnecting, forming new ideas, new landscapes within your mind. Your memories are tectonic, layered, shifting, remade by time. Even within you, the dance continues. The stars shimmer above, still and yet moving across their own vast orbits. Everything drifts, everything turns. You are part of a cosmic choreography, one rhythm shared by planets, atoms, and minds alike. Beneath you, the crust moves quietly, millimeter by millimeter. The mantle swirls, the core breathes heat, and through it all, the continents keep gliding, slow, tireless, graceful. They don't hurry. They don't pause. They remind you that motion can be peaceful, and that change, even unseen, can be beautiful. You take a breath, long and deep. The ground feels solid, but now you know it's alive, in motion, always. You can almost hear it, a faint, slow rhythm beneath the silence. The music of continents wandering across time, and as you drift toward sleep, the earth drifts beneath you, one heartbeat, one movement, one endless, patient dance. The earth has its seasons, not just of weather, but of fire and rest. You stand now in the stillness between those seasons, in the long and quiet space that follows eruption. Above you, the sky is pale and wide. Beneath you, the ground carries memories of heat. But for now, all is calm. This is the interlude of the earth, the hush between thunder and rain. The supervolcano has exhaled, reshaped, and cooled. The chaos has passed. And now the planet dreams again in silence. You walk slowly across a vast plain. The air smells faintly of minerals, iron, sulfur, and ash, softened by time. The ground is smooth in some places, fractured in others, like the pages of an old book written in lava. Every crack tells a story. Every ridge is the frozen echo of something once alive with light. This land was once uninhabitable. Rivers of molten rock flowed here, turning valleys into fire. The sun was hidden behind a sky of dust, and life struggled to breathe. Yet now, grass whispers in the wind, and flowers bloom from cooled stone. Small streams carve paths through the ancient ash, glittering with light. The earth heals slowly, but it always heals. You crouch and touch the ground. It feels cool, solid, peaceful. What was once molten chaos is now the foundation for new life. Beneath your fingertips are minerals that formed in the eruption's heat: obsidian, pumice, and rhyolite. Each rock holds the memory of pressure and release, of transformation through fire. You realize that the calm between eruptions is not emptiness, it is renewal. The world breathes out destruction only to breathe in creation again. You imagine the last great eruption here. The sky filled with ash that circled the globe. Days turned dim and the air cooled. Yet, within decades, plants returned. Within centuries, forests reclaimed the land. The Earth's resilience is patient and infinite. Beneath the surface, however, the story continues. The magma chamber that once emptied begins to refill, quietly, slowly. Like a heart gathering strength after exhaustion, it breathes in new molten rock from the deep mantle. The heat that once roared now hums softly, miles below your feet. Scientists call this long pause the dormancy period, the silent era between great awakenings. It can last tens of thousands of years, or hundreds of thousands. During this time, the caldera above may look like any other valley or lake. Visitors might camp beside it, unaware that beneath their tents lies a vast chamber slowly rebuilding itself. It is in this stillness that the planet dreams its next creation. The magma moves in slow spirals, rising through fractures, cooling, solidifying, melting again. Gases dissolve into liquid rock, pressure shifts, and minerals crystallize in elegant, hidden geometry. Deep underground, physics turns into poetry, chaos arranging itself into pattern. The magma chamber does not refill evenly. Some parts cool and solidify, forming a kind of rock ceiling. Others remain molten, fluid, restless. It is a dynamic balance, a conversation between stability and change. You realize that even the planet's silence is full of movement, just too slow for human time to see. Above ground, ecosystems flourish in the quiet years. Grasses grow over ash plains. Insects carve tiny worlds in the soil. Lakes form in the caldera's hollow, reflecting the sky like a mirror of peace. Animals wander freely across what was once destruction. Each blade of grass is a testimony. Life always follows fire. The air here is rich with minerals. Rain carries nutrients from the ash into rivers, feeding plants and microbes. Volcanoes, though destructive, are also engines of fertility. They scatter elements that renew the biosphere: iron, phosphorus, potassium. Without them, Earth's surface would become exhausted over time. In a strange, paradoxical way, eruption is essential for life. You breathe deeply. The scent of the earth feels older than memory. The fragrance of renewal that follows every storm. You imagine this calm lasting for millennia. The magma chamber below continues to fill, but the process is as slow as thought turning into dream. Centuries pass like breaths. Sometimes the calm breaks gently. A few tremors shake the ground. Hot springs bubble to life. Geysers breathe steam into cold air. These are the planet-size small reminders that the giant still stirs below. In places like Yellowstone, this calm breath is measured by scientists. Satellites record the surface lifting and sinking by mere centimeters. Geothermal vents whisper heat. Tiny earthquakes, too faint to feel, echo through the crust, mapping magma's quiet dance to those who listen. The calm is never silent. The planet's rest is not the absence of motion, but the presence of balance. The same way your heart beats quietly when you sleep, the earth too hums with low rhythms while it rests. Each cycle of magma, each subtle shift, is like a dream in the planet's long consciousness. You walk further, following a line of hot springs steaming into the evening air. The water glows golden in the setting sun. Beneath their surface, heat from below warms mineral-rich water, creating a home for strange microbial life. These organisms, some called thermophiles, thrive where most creatures would perish. Scientists believe that such life may resemble the earliest forms on Earth, perhaps even the first sparks of biology. Billions of years ago. It's as if the calm between eruptions becomes a cradle for beginnings. Heat nurturing new life instead of destroying it. The calm is never wasted. Even rest is creation. The surface world changes quietly during dormancy. Erosion reshapes the land. Winds smooth the jagged edges of rock. Rivers carve valleys through ash. Forests expand. What once was barren becomes beautiful. The land seems to forget its violent past, but the memory remains deep below, encoded in stone. The human heart does something similar. After upheaval, it grows calm. After destruction, it rebuilds. It forgets the sharpness of pain and carries only the wisdom that follows. You realize that the planet's patterns are the same ones that shape you. The calm between eruptions is the planet's way of remembering balance. It teaches that stillness does not mean lifelessness, it means preparation. Below every calm surface, energy waits to rise again. You reach a ridge overlooking the caldera. The view stretches for miles, a vast bowl surrounded by hills and forests. The rim glows faintly in twilight. You can almost feel the breathing of the earth beneath you, deep and slow, like a creature resting after a long journey. The stars begin to appear. Their light falls softly on the quiet land, illuminating the scars of lava flows now covered in moss. Night brings peace, a deep, cosmic calm that mirrors the planet's own. You feel a kinship with the land, as though your pulse and its pulse move together. Somewhere deep beneath your feet, magma gathers, but you do not fear it. You understand now that creation and destruction are part of the same rhythm. The planet, like you, is learning balance through cycles of transformation. You sit by the hot spring, watching its surface ripple in the cool air. The warmth rising from below feels ancient, almost kind. You remember that this heat is born from radioactive decay, the same energy that has powered the planet since its birth 4.5 billion years ago. Without that slow release of atomic fire, Earth's heart would have gone cold long ago. Every bubble of steam, every shimmer in the water is a whisper from that ancient fire. The calm, then, is not the absence of heat. It is heat contained, energy held in perfect stillness. It's the same stillness found in meditation, a pause between thoughts, rich with potential. You think of how civilizations, too, have been shaped by volcanoes. Ash made the soil fertile for crops. Mineral springs became sacred places. Mountains born of fire turned into symbols of divinity. When the earth finally exhales, it does so not with anger but inevitability. The silence you once felt beneath your feet gives way to vibration, a trembling whisper that climbs from the deep chambers of magma to the crust above. The air thickens, the ground breathes faster, and somewhere, far beneath, molten rock begins its ascent toward the surface. You stand at a distance as the horizon brightens with unnatural light. What was once a mountain dissolves into motion. The summit splits open, and the earth speaks. Its language is ash, that fine, weightless dust born from melted rock and vaporized life. It rises like breath, like memory, into the cold sky. Each particle carries a story. The minerals it came from, the gases that lifted it, the force that released it. Together they weave into vast clouds that stretch across the planet. You watch the plume rise higher, twisting with the wind. It glows orange and red at the base, then turns gray and silver as it meets the stratosphere. In the quiet, the ash seems to float in slow motion, a delicate contradiction to the violence below. This is how the earth rewrites itself, not through words, but through air and dust. Each eruption releases billions of tons of fine particles, fragments of silica, droplets of sulfuric acid, traces of metals and glass. They drift upward until they reach the stratosphere, a layer so high that raindrops cannot wash it clean. There, the ash spreads in thin, invisible veils that encircle the globe from the ground. You see only a dimming of sunlight. Days take on a strange twilight hue. The world becomes softer, quieter. Even birds fly lower, confused by the fading warmth. But in that dimness, beauty lingers. Sunsets turn crimson and violet. The sky glows with a painter's melancholy. The earth, even while wounded, creates art. You breathe slowly, aware that the air around you is filled with the remnants of mountains, forests, oceans. The dust you inhale might have once been a stone buried for millions of years. The ash that settles on your skin carries minerals from the deep mantle. Elements forged when the planet itself was young are literally breathing the memory of the Earth. Scientists call this process aerosol formation. The tiny ash and sulfur particles act as mirrors, scattering sunlight and cooling the planet's surface. This cooling effect, though temporary, can last for years. A planetary pause, a momentary balancing of extremes. After the eruption of Mount Tambora in 1815, the world experienced what came to be known as the year without a summer. Crops failed, snow fell in June, and skies across Europe burned red with volcanic dust. Yet out of that darkness, poets wrote of beauty and mystery. Painters captured sunsets of impossible color. Even in hardship, creation found its voice. The earth, it seems, writes in cycles of shadow and light. You close your eyes and listen. The faint hiss of falling ash sounds like gentle rain. It settles over forests, rivers, cities, covering everything in a thin, silvery veil. The land looks frozen, paused between breaths. Each flake of ash lands softly, weightless, yet together they transform the world. Ash changes everything it touches. It blankets soil, blocking sunlight for a time. It cools oceans, alters winds, reshapes rainfall. But beneath its quiet presence, it also nourishes. When rain eventually returns, the minerals dissolve into the ground, feeding new forests, enriching crops. From destruction comes fertility. you realize that this is how the planet restores balance, by tearing down, then rebuilding. The ash is both ending and beginning. You scoop a handful of ash from the ground. It feels lighter than sand, almost silky. Between your fingers, it drifts away like smoke. You imagine each grain's journey, born in fire, lifted by wind, carried across oceans. Some will settle here. Some will circle the world before falling into distant seas in time. That ash will become part of sediments, pressed into stone, buried and reborn. A future mountain may one day hold this same dust, waiting for another cycle of fire. The earth is a storyteller with infinite patience. You begin to walk through the landscape. The trees are gray ghosts, their branches coated in fine powder. Streams run milky and slow. The air smells faintly of sulfur, sharp but not unpleasant. In the distance, the volcano still exhales soft plumes of steam, as if sighing after long labor. Life seems paused, but beneath the surface, seeds lie waiting. Volcanic ash, rich in iron, calcium, and phosphorus, will soon feed them. In a few seasons, shoots of green will pierce through the gray crust, and the world will begin again. You realize that ash is not just the Earth's language, it is its memory. Every eruption leaves a layer, a time stamp in the geologic record. Scientists studying these layers, tephra layers they're called, can read the past like chapters in a book. Each tells of an eruption's magnitude, its chemistry, its age. Through these thin sheets of dust, the story of Earth's fire is preserved, a perfect chronicle of change. You look upward again. The ash cloud has thinned, but the sunset remains extraordinary. Bands of color ripple across the horizon. Amber, indigo, coral, gold. It's as though the atmosphere has become a canvas painted by invisible hands somewhere above. In the stratosphere, those same particles continue their drift. They scatter light in every direction, creating halos around the moon and long twilights after sunset. These optical miracles, volcanic afterglows, remind you that even ashes can create beauty beyond the imagination. It's a quiet paradox. The sky's most luminous colors are born from the planet's darkest moments. The air cools as night falls. You feel the temperature dropping faster than usual. Without full sunlight, the world loses its warmth. This is how volcanic winters begin. A delicate adjustment of balance. The Earth, in its way, self-regulates, using dust as breath. You sit on a stone and watch the stars appear one by one. The Milky Way stretches like a pale river above. The air seems clearer now, the stars sharper. The particles that dimmed the sun by day now scatter starlight more softly by night. You feel as if the universe has exhaled too, matching the rhythm of the earth below. In the distance, faint lightning flickers inside the ash plume. Volcanic lightning, born from collisions of charged dust particles. It's a storm inside the sky itself, a brief symphony of energy. Each flash illuminates the clouds from within, revealing vast columns twisting upward like living pillars. You watch in awe. It is beautiful and humbling and utterly alive. The eruption will end, the ash will settle. But this moment, this silent collaboration between fire and air, feels eternal. You remember that ash doesn't only change landscapes, it shapes life. Many ecosystems owe their richness to ancient eruptions. The fertile soils of Indonesia, the vineyards of Italy, the green slopes of New Zealand, all were nourished by volcanic dust. Even the ocean, when touched by ash, blooms with plankton. Iron-rich particles fall into the sea, feeding microscopic plants that feed the world. The earth gives through its destruction. It teaches that endings are disguised beginnings. You breathe again, slower this time. The air is cool, dry, faintly metallic. You imagine each breath carrying stories of the planet, the journeys of elements, the memory of explosions, the stillness of cooling stone. You are part of this circulation, this endless exchange. When you exhale, perhaps the air itself remembers. You think about how small you are, one person standing in the shadow of geological time. Yet somehow the earth feels intimate, its breath, its ash, its silence, all connected to your own rhythms of chaos and calm. You begin to understand why early cultures saw volcanoes as sacred, gates between worlds, mouths of gods, or hearts of the planet. When they saw ash fall from the sky, they saw messages, not destruction. The earth, they believed, was speaking in its own language of renewal, and perhaps they were right. Each eruption says, nothing is permanent, but everything continues. The air grows still. The last embers fade. The volcano rests once more, surrounded by the silence of its own creation. The ash settles into layers, soft and even, like snow that never melts. You brush some from your sleeve. It drifts away easily, light as thought. You look toward the horizon, where new stars shimmer through the haze. They seem closer tonight, as though the thin dust between you and space has turned the sky into a veil instead of a wall. Somewhere deep below, magma cools into rock, sealing the memory of fire. The earth turns inward again, its breath slow, its heartbeat steady. The language of ash has been written, and soon another language will rise from it: water, wind, and life. You smile softly, realizing that even silence is part of this great conversation. The eruption is over, but its story continues in the air, in the soil, in the stars that watch. You lie back on the cooled ground and close your eyes. The scent of ash and rain mixes with the faint sweetness of new grass beginning to sprout. The world hums gently, a lullaby sung by the living earth. The sky above you holds traces of the eruption, scattering moonlight into halos of pale silver. You think of how fragile balance can be, how even chaos contributes to harmony, and as you drift toward sleep, you wonder when the sky clears and the ash returns to earth. What new song will the planet begin to sing? You remember that ash doesn't only change landscapes, it shapes life. Many ecosystems owe their richness to ancient eruptions. The fertile soils of Indonesia, the vineyards of Italy, the green slopes of New Zealand, all were nourished by volcanic dust. Even the ocean, when touched by ash, blooms with plankton. Iron-rich particles fall into the sea, feeding microscopic plants that feed the world. The earth gives through its destruction. It teaches that endings are disguised beginnings. You breathe again, slower this time. The air is cool, dry, faintly metallic. You imagine each breath carrying stories of the planet, the journeys of elements, the memory of explosions, the stillness of cooling stone. You are part of this circulation, this endless exchange. When you exhale, Perhaps the air itself remembers. You think about how small you are, one person standing in the shadow of geological time. Yet somehow the earth feels intimate. Its breath, its ash, its silence, all connected to your own rhythms of chaos and calm. You begin to understand why early cultures saw volcanoes as sacred, gates between worlds, mouths of gods, or hearts of the planet. When they saw ash fall from the sky, they saw messages, not destruction. The earth, they believed, was speaking in its own language of renewal. And perhaps they were right. Each eruption says, nothing is permanent, but everything continues. The air grows still. The last embers fade. The volcano rests once more, surrounded by the silence of its own creation. The ash settles into layers, soft and even, like snow that never melts. You brush some from your sleeve, it drifts away easily, light as thought. You look toward the horizon, where new stars shimmer through the haze. They seem closer tonight, as though the thin dust between you and space has turned the sky into a veil instead of a wall. Somewhere deep below, magma cools into rock, sealing the memory of fire. The earth turns inward again, its breath slow, its heartbeat steady. The language of ash has been written, and soon another language will rise from it: water, wind, and life. You smile softly, realizing that even silence is part of this great conversation. The eruption is over, but its story continues in the air, in the soil, in the stars that watch. You lie back on the cooled ground and close your eyes. The scent of ash and rain mixes with the faint sweetness of new grass beginning to sprout. The world hums gently, a lullaby sung by the living earth. The sky above you holds traces of the eruption, scattering moonlight into halos of pale silver. You think of how fragile balance can be, how even chaos contributes to harmony, and as you drift toward sleep, you wonder, when the sky clears and the ash returns to earth, what new song will the planet begin to sing? Morning arrives like a hesitant whisper. The air, still cool from weeks of dimness, holds the faint scent of dust and dew. You stand at the edge of a valley blanketed in silver ash, where silence feels endless, a pause between the world that was and the world being born again. Then, somewhere beyond the horizon, the light begins. It is not sudden. The sun doesn't break, it seeps. A faint blush stains the sky, a quiet warmth beneath the chill. It's as though the earth, after long introspection, is ready to open its eyes again. You feel it before you see it, a shift in the air, a soft rise of temperature against your skin. Particles of ash, once thick and unyielding, start to fall more quickly now. The veil is thinning. The first sunbeam pierces the cloud layer like a needle through fabric. It touches the ground with gold. Dust sparkles. The gray turns to silver. And for the first time in many days, shadows return. You close your eyes, and the warmth feels personal, as if the planet itself is breathing on you. The sunlight that reaches you now has taken a longer path than usual. It's scattered by countless tiny aerosols, left suspended high above. That scattering paints the world in muted tones, soft yellows, pale rose, a delicate opal light that diffuses across everything. This is how the sun learns to return, not in brilliance, but in grace. As you walk, the landscape glows faintly, almost translucent. Each rock, Each blade of grass, catching light through dust, behaves like stained glass. The ash that once hid the sun now refracts it into a million tiny sparkles. The earth, it seems, does not just recover, it transforms. The air warms by degrees, and currents begin to stir. The atmosphere, once still and cold, regains its motion. Winds rise from uneven heating, carrying scents of stone and sulfur, of life returning far above. In the stratosphere, the last volcanic aerosols continue their slow descent. They have journeyed around the planet, bending light, painting sunsets. Their time aloft is ending. Gravity, ever patient, calls them home. As those particles settle, the planet brightens. More sunlight finds the surface. Photosynthesis awakens in waiting leaves and plankton. The color green, absent for so long, begins to bloom again. You kneel beside a patch of soil where ash is still soft and pale. With gentle fingers, you brush it aside. Beneath, faint sprouts push upward, determined, tiny, fragile, unstoppable. You smile. It's in this rebirth that the true miracle of light is revealed. It doesn't just illuminate, it activates. Sunlight is more than brightness. It is energy, woven into every thread of life. Through it, plants convert photons into sugar, air into oxygen, carbon into structure. The green world wakes, and with it, everything else follows. You think about how the ashes of destruction now cradle the roots of creation. Minerals from deep magma have mixed with soil, adding iron and trace elements. The same eruption that dimmed the world has prepared it for flourishing. The earth has rewritten its own recipe for renewal. As the day deepens, clouds shift into ribbons of gold. The atmosphere still carries a subtle haze, bending light into halos around the sun. These circles, coronas, are remnants of the volcanic veil, optical echoes of dust and moisture suspended high above. You lift your gaze and watch the halo shimmer, a celestial ring reminding you that light, even when filtered, is infinite in its persistence. The warmth spreads. Rivers, once coated in ash, start to run clearer. Melting snow from volcanic peaks feeds them with minerals. Fish return. Birds circle overhead, tracing invisible spirals in the warming air. The ecosystem, one breath at a time, begins to inhale again, and you, too, feel something returning, a kind of inner alignment with the planet's rhythm. Your heart seems to beat in time with the slow thawing of the world. Each exhale feels cleaner, each inhalation deeper. It's as though the sunlight, filtered through dust and distance, carries calm directly into your chest. You remember how the ash once blocked the sun entirely, how darkness seemed endless. But here you are, standing in its aftermath, watching light mend the fractures of the earth. Every photon that touches you now has traveled 93 million miles through empty space, through dust, through air, only to end here. Warming the side of your face, there's something profound in that. The sun, constant and patient, never stopped shining. It simply waited for the planet to clear its throat, to let the light through. And maybe you think that's how all healing happens, not suddenly, but by degrees. The dust has to settle. The air has to breathe again. You walk toward a ridge where the horizon widens. The land spreads below, a mosaic of ash plains and green shoots. Pools of water reflect the sky like fragments of mirrors. The sun, low but strong, glitters in every puddle. It feels like watching time move forward again. For a moment, you imagine yourself far above the earth, looking down from the thin blue edge of space. From that view, you'd see the faint halo of atmosphere wrapping the planet, delicate as silk, glowing faintly with refracted sunlight. That fragile layer of gas is the only thing separating life from vacuum. It's the membrane through which warmth, breath, and balance flow. The earth doesn't just wake under the sun, it wakes with it. You whisper a quiet thought to yourself. We live inside light, not just beneath it. The thought feels true as the sun climbs higher. The temperature rises and evaporation begins. Water from lakes and rivers lifts into vapor, carrying heat upward. These thermals form clouds, new ones, alive with motion and moisture. They build slowly, glowing white against the blue. You can almost hear them forming, expanding, condensing, a language of renewal spoken in vapor. When one drifts across the sun, the world softens again. The shadow feels tender now, a cool hand over a healing wound. The light returns each time with more confidence. Evening arrives, with warmth lingering in the soil. You sit near a hillside where ferns are unfurling, their green spirals delicate and ancient. You remember that ferns were among the first plants to recolonize lands after ancient eruptions. Their spores, light as dust, traveled easily through air. They were born to return after fire. You watch their fronds catch the last rays of sunlight, each tiny leaf glowing translucent, living stained glass. And as the sun sinks, the sky performs its slow transformation once again. The volcanic haze, still high above, turns sunset into a masterpiece. Stripes of violet, gold, rose, and indigo. Each color a reminder that the light, though changed, has learned new ways to be beautiful. You think of the people who witnessed such skies centuries ago, after Krakatoa, after Pinatubo. They, too, must have stood in awe of these painted heavens, unaware that their beauty was born from ash. The earth's contradictions are gentle teachers. You lie back, watching twilight unfold. The first stars appear, winking through the haze. Their light, too, has crossed impossible distances, centuries, even millennia, to arrive here, joining the renewed warmth of the sun in your sky. You realize that light never truly leaves. It only waits for the air to remember how to carry it. And so the cycle continues. The next morning, the world will be brighter still. Forests will deepen in color. The ocean's surface will glisten. Animals will return to long empty spaces, following warmth like a map. From destruction, equilibrium. From shadow, radiance. The veil of light now stretches fully across the world. Not heavy like ash, but soft and weightless. A promise restored. You feel gratitude, not just for the return of the sun, but for the silence that came before it. Without darkness, light would never have felt this sacred. The wind shifts. You taste faint sweetness, perhaps pollen, perhaps rain. The atmosphere, cleared and alive, carries life again. It occurs to you that every breath you take now is a reunion, a meeting between you and the world's renewal. You close your eyes and imagine how, in the days ahead, this sunlight will travel, warming oceans, guiding migrations, awakening seeds in forgotten soil. The same energy that now touches your face will soon ripple through every ecosystem, connecting all living things once more. The planet is awake again, and so are you. The last light fades gently. The stars rise fully bright and near. You watch their reflections shimmer on the still surface of a lake, the mirror of a world reborn. You breathe deeply, slowly, completely, and as sleep begins to gather around you, you think perhaps light, too, dreams of returning. Chapter 7. Beneath the crust, rivers of fire, deep below the calm forests and silent mountains. Molten rivers move in slow, glowing waves. They are ancient veins of the earth, pulsing with quiet intensity, shaping continents and carving oceans. You follow the flow of magma, patient, luminous, eternal, and realize that beneath every moment of stillness lies a hidden motion. The world, you learn, is always breathing fire. Even in its deepest sleep, you close your eyes and imagine yourself sinking through layers of time and stone. The cool soil gives way to rock, the rock to warmth, and then warmth to glow. Each layer hums with memory. You are no longer standing upon the earth. You are within it. You move slowly, as if through honey made of light, descending toward the secret heart that never stops beating. The air disappears, replaced by pressure, soft, heavy, encompassing. The silence deepens until it becomes a living thing, vibrating gently against your skin. You begin to sense motion, not the quick, restless motion of the surface, but a deeper kind, a movement that has no beginning and no end. Here, beneath the crust, the world flows in fiery veins. You picture them, rivers of molten rock, orange and red, glowing like thoughts that never fade. They twist and drift, guided by heat that was born when the planet itself was young. Each current is slow, patient, deliberate. An artist's brush upon the unseen canvas of the world. These are not wild flames. They do not rage. They hum, they breathe, they wait. Beneath your awareness, beneath the rhythm of life above, these rivers of fire keep time. They are the reason mountains rise, the reason continents drift, the reason oceans open and close like lungs. Every quiet landscape, you know, every forest, plain, and desert is balanced upon this slow, molten sea. You sense that nothing here is truly still. The crust, that firm and faithful skin of the earth, floats upon this restless warmth. Plates of stone, enormous and ancient, slide across the surface of the mantle, carried by the movement of molten rock below. This slow drift shapes everything you see, yet to the human eye it is invisible. A continent moves no faster than a fingernail grows. You breathe softly, realizing how patient the earth must be to change so slowly, so gently, and yet so completely. The fire beneath you is not a destroyer. It is a sculptor. It does not rush or burn. It shapes, renews, and nourishes. It melts stone, yes, but in that melting, it creates the raw material for life to rebuild upon. Every mountain range begins in that glowing sea. Every island, every grain of volcanic sand is born from that hidden pulse. You imagine yourself as one small ember drifting through those rivers, carried by invisible currents of heat and gravity. You see how the molten rock moves not randomly, but with purpose, like blood circulating through a living body. There is rhythm here, and repetition, and grace. As you drift deeper, the heat thickens. The walls of this inner ocean shimmer with liquid minerals, silicate and iron, magnesium and nickel, glowing softly as they rise and fall in convection, like waves in a slow dream. The magma moves in great looping patterns. It rises toward the crust, cools, then sinks again into the deep mantle, repeating endlessly. This is the Earth's quiet breathing. Each rise and fall transfers energy, the deep heat of creation rising toward the surface, the cool silence of the surface, descending back into the heart. Without this motion, the world would grow still, its crust cold and unyielding, its air lifeless. The balance between motion and rest keeps the planet alive. You realize, as you drift, that what you're witnessing is not chaos, it's harmony, a hidden music made of motion. The magma is the bass line of the planet's song, deep and resonant, too slow for human ears, but always playing. It has been playing for over 4 billion years, long before oceans or life, long before the first sunrise touched the first shore. You wonder what memory might feel like to the earth. If it could dream, perhaps it dreams in fire. Perhaps each eruption, each pulse of molten rock, is a dream breaking through, a reminder that creation and destruction are not opposites, but two sides of the same exhale. You picture ancient lava plains stretching across young continents, glowing like embers in the night of deep time. You see basalt cooling into pillars, black and glassy, forming strange geometric shapes, as if the Earth's mathematics had momentarily touched the surface before returning to silence. You see magma crystallizing into granite, the bones of mountains yet to come. Everything that feels solid began as something fluid. You let that thought settle in your mind, like a small spark of truth, the solidness of the world, the ground. You trust the mountain you climb, the stone beneath ancient temples. All of it was once flowing, glowing, moving. Even stillness, you realize, is only motion slowed down. It comforts you, this thought that nothing ever truly stops. Even in rest there is movement. Even in silence there is sound. The rivers of fire beneath the crust are vast beyond imagining. They stretch beneath oceans, beneath deserts, beneath every sleeping city. They flow around the edges of tectonic plates, filling chambers and caverns where pressure builds over centuries. Sometimes that pressure rises until the surface can no longer hold it, and then one day the world exhales in light. That exhale becomes a volcano, a release of stored breath. You have seen the aftermath, the ash, the smoke, the glowing rivers on the surface. But now, here in this imagined descent, you see the source, the gentle patience that came before the eruption. It is not anger. It is balance, finding a new way to express itself. You watch molten rock cooling into obsidian, the Earth's glass, sharp and dark, yet reflective. You remember how humans once used it to see themselves, to look into the unknown. Even that reflection, you realize, began as fire. Beneath the crust, temperature and time collaborate in secret. Heat travels upward, minerals fuse, gases separate. The deeper layers whisper to one another in chemistry's soft tongue. Every mineral is a memory of heat. Every gemstone a frozen echo of movement. You drift past ancient magma plumes, rising like luminous ghosts from the mantle. They are columns of heat that have burned through the crust for millions of years, creating islands like Hawaii, Iceland, and the Galapagos. You sense their endurance, their patience, how they do not force but persist, carving beauty from pressure, light from darkness. It feels strange and yet peaceful to think that so much creation happens in places no one ever sees. Above you, the crust seems impossibly thin, a fragile skin atop the glowing body of a living world. You feel the vulnerability of it, and yet also its strength. The crust bends, but does not break easily. It yields just enough to let the fire breathe. That balance between tension and release, pressure and expansion, is the same balance that keeps your own heart beating. You feel a kinship with the planet. Both of you hold fire beneath a calm surface. Both of you change slowly, quietly, invisibly, and that's enough in the stillness. You listen again to the magma's rhythm. You notice how it slows and softens the longer you listen. The rising currents feel like a breath drawn inward, the sinking ones like a breath released. The earth, you realize, is meditating, and you, in this vision, are meditating with it. All the fiery rivers beneath you are not chaos, they are calm. The calm of something vast enough to contain both creation and destruction, both peace and pressure. The world burns so that it may bloom. The crust rests upon heat so that life may rest upon the crust. The deepest fires exist only so the surface may one day cool enough for you to sleep upon it. You let the image fade, the glow dimming into soft ember light. The magma slows, hardens, becomes rock again. The heat becomes warmth. The sound becomes silence. You feel yourself rising gently, back through the crust, back toward the world of air and sound. You carry with you the quiet knowledge that everything beneath you is alive, slow, invisible, eternal, and somewhere deep below, the rivers of fire keep flowing, patient and radiant, waiting for their next quiet transformation. Because even in the deepest sleep, the earth still dreams in fire. And perhaps, tonight, so do you. You begin in silence. The surface above you cools after fire. The molten rivers slow, and the crust hardens into sleep. Yet beneath the stillness, you feel the faintest stirring, a whisper rising from deep within. It is not flame now, but breath. A long, slow exhale from the planet's hidden lungs. The breath of Earth begins in darkness. It moves through fractures, through pores of stone and chambers of forgotten heat. It carries with it the ghost of magma, water vapor, carbon dioxide, sulfur, nitrogen, gases that have waited eons to be released. They gather quietly, then drift upward, like dreams escaping the deep dot when they reach the open sky. They mix with the wind, spreading unseen across the world. And in this quiet mingling, the air itself is born. You imagine this process in its earliest form, 4 billion years ago, when the world was still wrapped in haze and fire. Volcanoes were not rare then. They were everywhere, breathing day and night. The air was thick, the oceans still forming from vapor. Each eruption exhaled water and carbon, steam and heat. Outgassing, scientists call it the planet releasing what it had kept locked away inside. But you sense it differently. You feel it as balance, a necessary sigh. The young Earth needed to breathe, to cool itself, to create a sky that could hold clouds, a sea that could hold reflections. Without these volcanic breaths, there would have been no rain, no rivers, no life. What seems destructive was, from the beginning, the gentlest act of creation. You picture an ancient horizon blurred with ash and light. The sun, faint through vapor, casts bronze glows on restless waves. Steam curls upward from fissures, twisting like silk ribbons in slow motion. Each wisp of gas becomes a promise, an offering to the atmosphere that will one day cradle forests, oceans, and your own fragile breath. The air around you tonight feels soft, familiar. You draw it in without effort, not realizing that every molecule of oxygen and carbon has passed through countless transformations, through magma, through stone, through the lungs of plants and creatures. The breath you take is part of the planet's memory. Inhale, exhale, the same rhythm as the Earth's. You sense that what rises from volcanoes is more than heat. It is history written in invisible ink. The balance between gases decides whether the planet warms or cools, whether clouds form or skies remain clear. Each eruption, no matter how small, adds a verse to that poem of equilibrium. Sulfur drifts upward, reflecting sunlight and cooling the world. Carbon dioxide lingers, trapping warmth, ensuring that the oceans do not freeze. Water vapor spreads, condensing into clouds, falling as rain, returning minerals to the sea. The earth, it seems, is constantly adjusting itself, like a musician tuning strings by ear, always searching for harmony. You see this balance not as perfection, but as motion, a pendulum swinging gently between extremes. Too much breath, and the world overheats. Too little, and it grows cold and brittle. But through cycles of eruption and calm, storm and silence, the planet keeps its melody. You close your eyes and listen. The sound of wind through leaves, the distant hum of waves. These are remnants of the same breathing that began in molten stone. You imagine drifting through the atmosphere as a single particle of ash carried high above the clouds. From that height, you can see the curve of the planet, blue and green, veined with light. Below you, volcanoes pulse like tiny hearts, releasing plumes that fade into silver mist. You realize that even now, in the age of calm oceans and blooming forests, the breath continues. Every volcanic sigh feeds the sky with the ingredients of life. Each molecule of carbon, once buried in stone, finds its way upward, joining sunlight to form leaves, shells, coral, and bone. Life is not separate from these breaths. It is built from them. You, too, are built from them. You exhale slowly, and the air leaving your lungs mingles with that ancient rhythm. The same air once carried by volcanic clouds across the young seas. The thought feels both vast and intimate. You picture the carbon cycle as a kind of slow heartbeat. Volcanoes release carbon dioxide. Plants and oceans absorb it. Over ages, the balance shifts back and forth. Sometimes the world warms and life flourishes. Sometimes it cools and glaciers bloom. Yet, through it all, the rhythm remains, the great inhalation and exhalation of a living planet. This is not the breath of a moment, but of epoch. It unfolds over millions of years, far beyond the rush of human time. Still, you are part of it, breathing in sync, without even knowing, in the deep past. During eras of intense volcanism, the sky was darker, the air thicker, the balance tilted toward heat. But life adapted evolving forms that thrived in warmth, and then cooling when the earth exhaled sulfur and ash to dim the sun. Balance, even when fragile. always found a way to restore itself. You drift further into this thought, imagining yourself lying upon the surface of the earth, the crust still faintly warm beneath you. You can almost feel the gases rising through microscopic pores in the rock. You can hear, if you listen long enough, the slow hiss of vapor escaping from fissures, carrying secrets of the deep into the gentle blue of the sky. In that sound, you recognize something familiar, the same rhythm that fills your own chest, a reminder that breathing is the language of balance. You realize then that volcanoes are not only monuments of power, they are mediators between the inner and outer worlds. They translate pressure into peace, confinement into release. Without them, the planet would suffocate beneath its own heat. With them, it learns to exhale, to share, to transform. Each plume of gas, each drift of ash, becomes part of the grand circulation that connects rock, air, ocean, and life. You see the beauty in this unity, a system so vast, yet so precise, that it can cradle the tender forms of existence as the night deepens. You imagine the world breathing around you. Mountains inhale quietly, drawing mist from the sea. Oceans exhale clouds, which drift inland and fall as rain. Forests release oxygen, taking in the carbon you let go. Every living thing participates in the same exchange, one endless act of balance. You find comfort in the thought that even storms and eruptions are part of this harmony. What seems violent is often only the Earth's way of restoring calm. A sudden exhalation after centuries of silence. You recall how, after great eruptions, the skies may dim and the air cools. Crops fail, winters lengthen. Yet, in time, the cycle corrects itself. Dust settles. The air clears. Sunlight returns. Out of the chaos, balance reemerges, softer, wiser, new. You understand now that life depends on this rhythm of forgetting and remembering, of silence and breath. Even the heart mirrors it, expansion and contraction, fire and rest. For a moment, you imagine floating above the world, watching it breathe, continents and oceans rising and falling in slow time. The sight fills you with peace. The earth is alive, not in metaphor, but in movement. In the constancy of its renewal, you drift downward again, through layers of mist and light, back toward the surface where forests sleep and oceans shimmer in moonlight. You can almost hear the pulse of the deep beneath the wind's quiet sigh. Every breeze that brushes your skin began as vapor from stone. Every drop of rain carries the memory of fire. Every inhale you take continues a conversation billions of years old. The awareness settles in you like warmth, steady, tender, enduring. You breathe in once more, deeply, feeling the world breathe with you. And in that moment, you realize that balance is not the absence of change. It is change itself, slowed into grace. The volcano's exhale cools the planet. Your inhale keeps life awake. Every motion, even the smallest, participates in a cosmic equilibrium. You rest in that knowing. You are part of the Earth's quiet respiration. You are one breath within the great breath. And as you drift toward sleep, you feel the planet exhale again, softly, endlessly, carrying your breath into the night sky, where it mingles with clouds, stars, and time itself. You wake to stillness, the kind that feels older than sound. Beneath your hands, the ground is cool and solid. yet it hums faintly, like the echo of something vast moving far away. The air is soft. The horizon glows with the dim silver of dawn. And around you, stones lie scattered like sleeping giants, patient beneath the slow pulse of time. You begin to sense it again, that deep, steady rhythm. Not the trembling of magma this time, nor the sigh of breath rising through fissures. It is slower now, quieter, the motion of centuries woven into the body of the earth itself. The crust beneath you shifts almost imperceptibly. Mountains rise, seas advance, valleys deepen, continents drift. You are standing in the middle of the earth's long conversation with itself, a dialogue written in rock and silence. Every stone, every ridge, every grain of sand was once something else. Once a mountain, once the floor of an ocean, once dust in the air. Nothing in the earth's body is truly still. It only moves too slowly for the human eye to follow. You imagine zooming time forward, like a film sped a millionfold. The surface of the planet ripples. Mountains rise like frozen waves, then collapse into rivers. Continents drift apart, their edges glowing with magma, then reunite again. Erosion becomes a soft wind stroking stone into sand. Sediment becomes layers, pressing memories into color and weight. In this vision, you realize that the Earth's history is not a line but a circle, a series of seasons repeating, reshaping, remembering. These are the seasons of stone, not the seasons of spring or winter. Measured in months, but vast intervals of transformation, where land and sea trade places, and time carves new forms from what was old. You begin to walk. Under your feet, the ground crunches with tiny crystals, quartz, feldspar, mica, each one a relic of pressure, heat, and patience. Each one the record of a season long past. You pick up a pebble, smooth, cool. It fits perfectly in your palm. Inside this small weight lies a memory of fire and water, magma that cooled, rain that wore it down, rivers that carried it here. You turn it slowly, and it glints in the morning light like a drop of time made solid. The stone tells you that nothing ever truly ends. It only changes form. Over millions of years, rocks break down into soil. Soil becomes home to roots. Roots die, turn to sediment. Sediment hardens again into stone. The Earth's surface is a living manuscript, pages constantly being rewritten by wind, rain, and gravity. You think of plate tectonics, the great unseen machinery of renewal. Beneath the crust, slabs of rock, miles thick, drift upon molten currents, moving slower than fingernails grow. When they meet, they collide, fold, and rise. When they part, new crust forms in glowing seams, spreading outward from the mid-ocean ridges like stitches of light. This motion shapes continents, raises mountain chains, opens oceans, and though it happens over millions of years, you can feel its presence, a deep pulse that moves through everything solid. You imagine two plates converging, slowly pressing against one another until stone bends like wax. The pressure builds. Mountains begin to form, the Himalayas, the Andes, the Rockies, peaks that seem eternal, yet are still rising, still shifting, still breathing. Every layer here was once the ground beneath someone's sky. Once, perhaps, this place was a seabed filled with coral. Later, It became a plain where ferns grew and creatures walked. Now it stands exposed to the open air, recording everything it has ever been. You realize that time leaves color in stone. Iron turns red, carbon darkens, minerals bloom into blues and greens, each hue a chemical whisper of an age long vanished. When scientists read these layers, they are not just measuring years, they are listening to the tone of time. The Earth's seasons unfold in rhythms almost musical. A long, slow rise of heat, volcanic ages, a cooling breath, ice ages, periods of flourishing life, followed by long silences of extinction. Then, inevitably, rebirth. And just like human breath, these cycles depend on balance. Too much carbon and warmth lingers too long, too little, and frost locks the oceans. But again and again, the planet finds its middle, a fragile, shifting equilibrium between fire and frost. It is in that balance that life thrives, grows, and dreams. You feel wonder at how the same processes that destroy also preserve. A volcanic eruption may darken the sky, yet its ash enriches the soil. A glacier may crush valleys, yet leaves behind fertile plains when it melts. Even decay feeds creation. Even stillness holds motion. This is the quiet lesson of stone. As you walk deeper into the landscape, the terrain begins to shimmer with memory. You see shapes that once were coral reefs, now fossilized into cliffs. You see the faint outline of a fern etched into slate, a whisper of green preserved in gray. You realize that stone remembers the softness of leaves, the flow of rivers, the breath of creatures. It holds everything, not as life, but as form. You kneel beside a fossilized shell, embedded in rock. It spirals inward perfectly, frozen mid-curve. You can almost hear the ocean that once carried it. You can almost taste the salt of its vanished waves. Stone, you understand, is not the end of life, but its echo dot. It sings of what came before. It waits, patient, to become something new again. You think of time not as a line, but as a tide. Each geological season rises and falls, one era dissolving into the next. The Cambrian, the Devonian, the Jurassic, names like verses in a cosmic poem. Each age leaves behind a texture, a fossil, a ridge, a trace of air trapped in amber. And all of it adds up to now. You breathe in, feeling the air that once moved through ancient forests, through lungs of creatures long gone. Every atom around you is recycled, ancient, patient, endless. The realization fills you with peace. You are living within the memory of stars and stone. You reach a high plateau where wind sings across bare rock. The sound is hollow, yet soothing, as if the mountain itself were exhaling. You sit down, feeling the stone beneath you, cold, firm, unyielding, yet alive in its stillness. The setting sun turns the landscape gold. Shadows lengthen like ancient brushstrokes. You notice how the rock glows with soft fire, reflecting not only the light of the sun, but the memory of molten origins. The warmth fades slowly. The stars appear. The same stars that watched over continents being born. You feel small, but not insignificant. You are part of this rhythm, this quiet breathing of stone and time. Even your bones one day will return to mineral, becoming part of the same cycle, the same vast unfolding of transformation. Nothing is lost. Everything is rearranged. As night deepens, You imagine the future, millions of years from now. The continents will shift again. New mountains will rise where oceans now sleep. Old peaks will crumble into sand and drift away. The earth will continue its patient rhythm long after memory fades. And perhaps, in that distant age, someone else will pick up a smooth pebble from the ground, a fragment of what once was your world, and feel, for a moment, the same quiet awe. You realize then that time itself is not an enemy of life, but its canvas. Without time, there could be no growth, no change, no renewal. The stone beneath you is not a symbol of permanence, but of transformation slowed to grace. You breathe in the cool night air. It tastes faintly of dust and beginnings. The stars above gleam like sparks caught in still water. You close your eyes, feeling the earth beneath you turning slowly, endlessly, through its seasons of stone, and in that turning, everything finds its place. The wind quiets, the horizon softens. You feel sleep approaching, not as an ending, but as a return. The world continues to move in its patient cycles. Mountains breathe, oceans dream, time folds and unfolds, endlessly weaving stone into sky, sky into sea. You rest in that rhythm, knowing that even in stillness, everything flows. The magma chambers deep below the crust shift in their sleep. Molten rock, dense and glowing, begins to rise through fractures as if drawn upward by curiosity. Each bubble of gas, each current of liquid heat carries within it the memory of Earth's origin, the moment 4.5 billion years ago when the planet first gathered from stardust and flame. You imagine drifting down through layers of rock, the mantle, the lithosphere, the crust, until you hover in the warm half-light of molten stone. Here, the air is gone. The silence hums. The pressure folds sound into vibration, light into motion. It feels less like a place and more like a thought. One the earth has been thinking for eons. You sense that magma is not mindless. It moves with purpose. Each rising plume seeks equilibrium, a way to share its stored energy with the cool world above. It is balance through motion, harmony through change, the same principle that governs breath, tides, and even thought. You realize that the planet dreams in fire the way your body dreams in sleep, renewing itself from the inside. Invisible but essential for centuries. The fire has slept beneath layers of calm crust. Volcanic fields overgrown with grass. Caldera lakes mirror still beneath drifting clouds. Tourists walk their edges, unaware that miles below, magma slowly refills the chambers that once roared with flame. You walk among these quiet relics, the rim of Yellowstone, the plains of Topo, the vast shadows of Toba and Era. To the human eye, these are peaceful landscapes, but the Earth's pulse never truly stops. Deep sensors record faint vibrations, harmonic tremors, as if the planet hums softly to itself. Gas seeps upward, whispering stories of depth and heat. Tiny earthquakes flicker through the rock like sparks inside embers. You realize then, even when it rests, the earth is alive. Its calmness is not emptiness, but a form of waiting, patient, cyclical, natural. In time, pressure builds, not suddenly, but gradually, like a deep inhale that lasts for centuries. Gases trapped within the magma dissolve, expanding into bubbles that push upward. Crystals form and melt again, each change adjusting the rhythm, the texture, the tone of the underground symphony. If you could listen to this process as sound, it would be a bass note sustained for millennia, a low, resonant hum that vibrates through the entire body of the planet, and above, life continues unaware. Forests grow over old lava fields. Animals wander across fertile soil born from ancient eruptions. The air itself carries traces of volcanic ash that once fed the ocean with minerals, sparking blooms of life. Fire gives and takes, but it always returns to creation. You begin to imagine what happens when the balance tips, when the trapped gases expand faster than the rock can hold. A slow awakening becomes a surge, pressure meeting release. The crust cracks, light and sound rush upward together, and the sky brightens with the glow of rebirth. To witness such a moment, even in your mind, is to stand on the edge of eternity. Lava spills like molten rivers, reshaping valleys, swallowing forests, redrawing coastlines. Ash clouds rise high enough to touch the edge of space, drifting with the jet stream, scattering sunlight into strange colors. For months, the world dims. Rain falls through sulphurous skies. But then, quietly, the cycle begins again. Ash settles into soil, rich with minerals. Seeds take root in the warmth. The first green shoots appear against the blackened ground from destruction. The planet breathes new life. You kneel and touch the cooled rock, smooth, glassy, obsidian black. It feels like night solidified. And yet, beneath that still surface, the story of heat remains. This is how the planet renews itself. Fire reshapes, but also nourishes. It clears, cleanses, restarts. In the same way, the mind sometimes must burn away the old to make space for the new. Neural pathways, like lava flows, carve fresh roots through old terrain. Thought itself is a volcanic process: pressure, transformation, release, creation. You smile softly at the thought that you and the earth are not so different. Both of you are systems of renewal. Both breathe, burn, rest, and begin again. Far above the smoldering land, ash particles drift upward, catching sunlight. They glint faintly, like stars forming in miniature, tiny echoes of the cosmos that once forged every element in your body. You remember that the carbon in your breath, the iron in your blood, the silicon in stone, all were born from the cores of ancient stars. Supernova scattered those atoms into space, and gravity, patient and persistent, drew them together again, forming this planet, its molten heart, its sleeping fire. The magma beneath your feet is the echo of that original creation. The Earth's awakening is a continuation of the universe's long unfolding, the same flame, wearing a new shape. You are walking on cooled starlight. You are breathing the ash of galaxies. As you look up, the stars shimmer as though they are breathing with the planet. For a moment, you sense no separation between what burns in the heavens and what burns within the earth. It is one cycle, a rhythm of energy changing form, over and over, forever. A star collapses into iron. Iron forms a core. The core spins, melts, glows, breathes. And here you are, standing at the quiet edge of its creation, a witness to the echo of the beginning. You realize that volcanoes are not just geological phenomena, they are memories. The earth remembering what it felt like to be a star, the air grows cool again. The fires beneath retreat to their patient dreams. The night deepens around you, vast and serene. You breathe in, slow and full. The smell of the earth, faintly metallic, mixes with the clean chill of starlight. Every breath feels ancient. Every heartbeat feels like part of the planet's pulse. You sit upon the cooling rock and close your eyes. Beneath the calm surface of thought, you can still feel that hidden warmth, the pulse of renewal waiting. It tells you that endings are never absolute, that beneath every silence something stirs, that even in stillness there is fire. The wind brushes your face, carrying ash, pollen, and the faint scent of rain. You think of all that came before the sleeping giant, the rivers of magma, the slow breath of balance, the seasons of stone, all of it part of a single rhythm, a circular song. You feel the story coming full circle, the earth returning to itself, the fire returning to sleep, the silence returning to soundless peace, and you, tiny and infinite all at once, drift gently within that circle. You open your eyes once more. The horizon glows faintly, not from eruption, but from dawn. A pale light touches the ridges of cooled stone, turning them silver, soft, new. The earth exhales. You exhale with it. The fire sleeps, but it is not gone. It will wake again someday, perhaps in 1,000 years, perhaps in 1,000,000. And when it does, the planet will rise again, reshaping itself in the endless, patient dance of becoming. You lie back against the warm rock, feeling your body align with the rhythm of the ground. The stars above shimmer faintly, as if nodding in time. The earth below hums quietly, still warm, still dreaming. In this moment, everything feels complete and yet not ended. The circle remains open, turning, breathing, glowing softly beneath the crust. And as your eyes grow heavy, you realize that sleep itself is a kind of supervolcano, a quiet descent into depth, where your inner fires rest, gather strength, and awaken renewed. The earth sleeps beneath you, and you sleep within it, both part of the same endless rhythm of calm creation.